down the line. No, sorry. I do have an agenda item, so I need to get we'll put it on if you guys want to have so it's 10 grand on each one. See, 21 additions, there are a couple changes in the coaches I'll explain. One of our coaches that called up and says, it's just a switch, which means
Okay, I'd like to bring the school board meeting May 4th, 2016 to order. And I'll start on the left-hand side with Heather for roll call.
Heather Furman, School Board.
Brian Garland, School Board.
Sean Carroll, School Board.
Russ Holden, Superintendent.
Ross Aaron, School Board.
April Royce, School Board.
Kelly Whistles, Business Administrator.
And side table here.
Megan Reed, Assistant Principal, Seneca Middle High School.
Sean Moynihan, Principal, Sunapee Middle High School.
Tara Q, Director, Student Services.
Jody Bergen, Principal, Sunapee Central Elementary School.
Okay. You want to lead us in the pledge of allegiance, please?
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If we have a moment of silence, please. Okay, thank you. Okay, would someone like to make a motion on the April 6th school board minutes, please?
I make a motion on the April 6th School Board minutes.
Okay, motion made by April. Second by the second. Second by Brian. And any discussion on the minutes? That's good. Katie's doing a nice job on it. Okay, hearing none. All those in favor? None. Opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. And someone like to make a motion on the non-public minutes for the same day, April 6th.
I'll move we accept the non-public minutes.
Motion made by Paul and second by April. And again, does anybody have any discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Okay, on to agenda review. We have one revision on the action item. We'd like to add an I. Mr. Holden's going to talk to us about the gym floor, which we put off for a few years, so he's just going to bring that forward. And that'll be I. Okay. Moving forward, next is the public forum. Does anybody like to bring anything forward from the public? And if so, we have the mic set up to speak to it. Okay. Hearing none, then we will move on to the athletics overview with Mr. Tom Fredericks.
Do you want me to use the mic, or how do you want me to do this?
If you're, I mean,
I think he's
I get in trouble if I don't have someone do it, so, or get in front of the mic, so it'd be.
I don't care. Either way, whichever. you
Some of that general vicinity, Tom, would be
Just,
great.
yeah, just stand near the mic, you know. That's
There
perfect.
you go. Go to the microphone.
Thank you very much.
Sorry.
I just flew in from Cleveland, and boy, my arm's tired. Anyhow, I'd like to discuss with you the athletic program at Sunapee Middle High School. It's just going to give you kind of a brief overview of how the year has been going and what direction we're heading. This fall we had 11 teams participate in JV varsity and middle school sports. Winter we had 11 teams, and in the spring we have 8 teams. Our high school participation, out of 136 students in the high school, we have 102 participating in at least one sport, and that's 75% participation. In the middle school we have 76 out of 109 students for 70% participation. It's a little bit lower because a lot of the 6th graders participate in recreation sports, and this is a little bit easier and more appropriate for their age level in some of the sports there. At this point, we've been recognized for 2 state championships in girls basketball and girls volleyball. We were recognized as runner-up in girls alpine, and we had numerous individual ski championships. For state champion for jump was Will Austin, and Maddie and Will also won individual championships in alpine skiing this year. We were able to resurrect the Nordic program this year with a lot of help from the community and the ski community, and we had 10 participants in the high school participate in that, so that was nice. It allowed some of the students to qualify for ski high school. Last year we went over the athletic handbook with all the coaches, and we cleaned up some of the language so that it reads a little bit easier and a little bit more precise. So I think we haven't had really any major issues in athletic handbook this year, and so it's been nice. As far as some improvements that we'd like to see, there is a major lack of outdoor space that we're lacking. In the fall, we're often split in soccer fields for the varsity and girls and boys, and then on the upper fields there are the middle school girls, middle school boys often will be on Route 11, and the JV girls will be finding a spot on the baseball infield. So we don't have a lot of outdoor space for our spring and fall athletics, and we're hoping that we can improve that. The upper field for the JV soccer field and the baseball field, the outfield is in terrible shape. It is rutted. There's lack of grass. It's really in need of repair. We looked into putting a warning track in a couple of years ago with the help of the Lions Club, but the cost of that was fairly substantial, and they didn't quite have the money at that point to do that. But I'm hoping it's something we can look into in the future. The lower field, we continue to try and figure out a way to light it correctly. We put in higher wattage lights that were just very bright, but in a dense particular area. I don't think it lit the field any better than what we had out there. And right now, the lighting is fairly inadequate. We have one of the poles that doesn't have a light currently working. We're trying to address the issue. Hopefully, we'll be able to come up with some measure of success in the fall. This year, they started to put the field on more of a program in terms of fertilization, aeration, and seeding. So I think that'll go a little bit better. I know they also put in water so that we can water the field, and that certainly helped this fall from the field becoming a dust bowl, because it was a dry fall. We were able to keep grass out there this year, which was really nice to have that ability. Other good news in terms of the field, the sheds have been awesome. I know the snack shack is just a lot nicer for people to go up to. Mrs. Parsons runs that along with some students and the Sunapee Booster Club who run that in the fall. And it's just, we receive a lot of compliments on that. It's just a nice area to have a concession, and certainly the sheds that we have for storage are great, so that's nice as well. Other news, our coaching positions for our varsity and varsity sports have been fairly easy to fill. People enjoy coaching varsity sports. However, we've always had a little bit of difficulty in filling our JV and middle school positions. Middle school is by far one of the toughest positions, but also one of the most important positions for our athletic program. So I don't know what the answer is to that. We try and recruit as many teachers who are interested, because typically it's easier for them to get out after school and coach that team, but we've had some help in the district from community members to help coach, but that continues to be an area we'd like to see some improvement on. Next year, we are planning on using Life of an Athlete, which is a program run out of the NHIA office, a little bit more. We started when they piloted the program. We were very involved with them. And we just had a few differing opinions on certain things, and we kind of went away from them. But I think it's going to be important to try and reconnect with them. They've gone under some new leadership in different program situations, so I think it might be good to get involved with them. Speaking with Mr. Moynihan, we certainly want to use some of the programs that they offer. We also this spring, we're one of the many schools that are participating in the Operation Hat Trick initiative. This is an initiative that helps veterans throughout the state of New Hampshire. It was started by a New Hampshire UNH professor, Dot Sheehan, and it's baseball caps, camel baseball caps with our logo on them, and numerous schools are doing this. And part of the proceeds from buying the cap go to the veterans of New Hampshire. Part of the whole initiative was to help keep the memory of Steve Hardy's son, who was a professor at UNH. Nathan Hardy used to summer in Newberry, was a Navy SEAL who was killed in action in Iraq. They've really taken on this initiative and raised over $90,000 in the last 3 years for veterans in the state of New Hampshire. Any money that this Operation Hat Trick initiative makes in New Hampshire stays in New Hampshire. So we're going to be having veterans throw out pitches for softball and baseball, recognize veterans at the games, and present them with hats in the next few weeks that's coming up. Boy, I wish I could see the
Your glasses.
yeah, I know. They are. Yeah. Okay. The last issue, just figure we'll go over the spring that we have. Currently, we have over 25 athletes participating in the track and field, varsity track and field. And our varsity softball team currently is undefeated at 7-0, and our varsity baseball team is 6-1. And we have a lot of participation in the spring in terms of middle school baseball, middle school softball, and middle school track, which is nice to see. So the season seemed to be going well other than the weather. Any questions?
Can you just touch base on the concussion testing? Is that something that was started, what, 2 years ago?
We started that 2 years ago, and we tested almost all the students. Next year, it's up for, they recommend that it's done every 2 years. And so next year will be at the end of the spring, will be pretty much everyone will need to be retested. What this impact testing does, we test almost all the athletes, and it gives a baseline for any student athlete, or actually anybody who takes the test, to have a baseline in concussion, so that they have some sort of information. It's one of the tools they use that allows the athlete to come back. They'll retake the test after a head injury to see where they stand and whether they need more time.
Was it used fairly frequently? I know in some cases that...
Yeah, we probably had students, 10 to 12 kids, take their baseline results to a doctor and retake the test. And what we've done is we've paid for the test, and if for the initial test, and also if the students need to take a retest on that, we'll give them their results and pay for that test so that they have a better idea. One way to see it.
I think it's really worthwhile.
We've received some good reviews. It is, it's obviously a hot button topic, so I think we've been ahead of the curve right now. And I think we're going to try and stay with it next year. Any other questions?
Anybody have anything, Heather?
Is there interest in revitalizing the Spirit program?
The Spirit program is still, we had a team this year. We just did not compete in terms of the state meet that they have at the end of the year. We have a first-year coach that, we didn't feel 100% comfortable in terms of the stunting and whatnot. A lot of beginner cheerleaders that we just wanted to kind of get our ducks in a row to make sure that, one, they're safe, and two, that, there was enough interest to keep it rolling.
I had some misinformation, so thank you.
Anybody have anything?
I just wanted to make a note, you have 4 of your varsity level softball players that are again helping the 3rd and 4th grade softball team. They did it for basketball too, it's been very helpful. I really enjoy seeing them work with them, and they're really learning a lot. So I like that you guys are cultivating that at the varsity levels.
Thanks. They seem to be enjoying it.
Couple questions. Tom, can you, I don't want to put you on the spot, but you kind of on the spot. How many kids are participating in 3 or more sports, varsity level? Do you have any idea?
Well, at the senior class,
Yeah.
we have 2 3-sport athletes, meaning that they participated in the 3 sports for 4 years. They're going to receive a three-season sweatshirt from the NHIA. But we have, off the top of my head, I say we have about probably 8 to 10 that are doing it this year. We had a number of guys come back to basketball, a few girls doing softball now, and picked up another sport in the spring. So, I could get you that information, but off the top of my head, we have a lot in junior class that are 3-sport athletes, and a number in the freshman class as well.
And I just asked you that, I was just looking at that, for some other conversations we were having regarding physical education. I mean, you and I have had those conversations. Below grade 9 participation?
Yeah.
What's that look like for kids that are playing at the junior varsity or varsity level?
I'm on the below grade 9 committee, and typically we're putting between 5 and 7 kids, pulling them up. But we try and have them swing so that they play on a middle school team as well, and try and avoid conflicts where we can, to make sure that the only season they don't swing is basketball because it's so kind of concentrated. But usually between 5 and 6, depending on the sport. We swung up 2 girls for skiing this year because we had low high school numbers. We swung about 6 or 7 boys for baseball and 5 or 6 girls for softball, 3 or 4 girls for JV soccer.
And last question, being the athletic director, you mentioned space issues. What would be a recommendation that you would bring as athletic director to help solve some of our space field issues?
I think we need to develop a practice field somewhere. I think we discussed that when we were trying to decide whether we're going to do the turf or whatnot. But I think the most important thing that we could get right now is another practice field, or practice area. I know there's been some discussion, putting something over by the SAU or behind the baseball field. I think my personal opinion is that if you made that a softball area where you could put a practice soccer field for the middle school, that'd be really helpful. It would also open up the lower athletic field here to become more of a dedicated soccer area. So we have 6 or 7 soccer teams depending on the JV interest with boys. So I think that'd be our best bet. Certainly the foot traffic that we get on there for rec and high school and JV, it's tremendous.
So if we were to have another practice field, could we limit usage of our game field and make that almost a game field as far as rec and other outside events go?
Well, rec only uses that for softball practice and some baseball stuff, t-ball, whatnot. But for soccer, they use the Rule 11 field for the most part. You'd have a hard time limiting the varsity teams practicing on that field. They'd have to practice on the field because the softball field, if you were to make a softball practice type facility, it would be too small for the varsity players. But that's mine.
That's great. Thank you.
Go ahead. One more question. Academic requirements to participate in sporting teams.
Mhm.
Can you just recap what those are for me? Because I get confused or I don't quite understand it.
Sure. At Sunapee, you have to pass all but one class to be able to participate. If you fail one class, you can continue to participate so long as you have met the NHIA guidelines of passing 4 units of work as well. If you fail 2 classes and still have passed 4 units of work, you're NHIA eligible. However, with our athletic handbook, you're ineligible. What we do at that point is put you on an academic improvement planner, where the student has to go to 8th hour 2 or 3 times a week for 3 weeks and keep attendance. And at the end of 3 weeks, we check their grades to make sure that they've met the requirements. And if they have met the requirements, they're then allowed to play on the team. During that time, they may be allowed to practice, but not play any games. And then following that, when they're allowed back on, we continue to check weekly to make sure that they're still passing and doing what they need to be doing. And if they fall again, we can do it week by week.
And you find that extra help makes the difference for those athletes for the most part?
Found that it's been fairly successful. Those kids have got their grades up to where they need to be, and just having that after-school study where they're dedicated to sitting down and actually doing some schoolwork. And that's what we typically found is these kids weren't doing their work. It wasn't for lack of ability. It was
Just
lack
not
of effort.
handing in the homework.
Just not doing the work, yeah. That's,
So,
yeah.
who does that with them, that after-school session? And that
Well, they send them to the library,
Okay.
and then now they have an 8th hour teacher, who's been Mr. Klingerman. But it probably has changed since Mr. Klingerman's doing the JV baseball. Mr. Moynihan can probably tell you better than I could.
It rotates. We have a number of teachers who will teach 8th hour, and then we have the libraries open every day from 3 to 4 o'clock as well.
I love academics and I love sports, but is one failure too high?
One failure actually is lenient as compared to a lot of other schools. I'll use the Mascoma as an example, because they used to work there. They used to take progress report scores, and if you didn't have a 2.0, you weren't allowed to participate. And so you were getting checked, progress report, end of quarter, progress report, end of quarter, progress report, end of quarter. So there was a lot of checks and balances. I think one failure is, I think it's not too lenient. I think sometimes there are legitimate kids who have an issue with one class, and to take away an athletic venue for them that they're probably really, really interested in could be difficult.
I see there's no doubt there's social benefits to participating. I wrestle with one failure being.
We had a lot of discussion about this probably 8 or 9 years ago when we were doing things, and we had increased the demand, the academic demand. But one thing that we were finding when you had any failures is that we did see circumstances where that middle level student sometimes would avoid a challenging class. So all of a sudden, if I'm taking physics, so I want to take physics, but I know I play baseball, and if I fail physics, I'm not going to be eligible to play baseball. But if I take a different class that's not as rigorous as that, and so we had a lot of discussion. But that was one of the reasons that we did have that, is that some of those students, we wanted them to push themselves without that fear of becoming ineligible for the athletics. But it's a very fair. We had a lot of discussion on it. I mean, Mr. Carroll was certainly on that school board when we had that discussion. But that was one of the reasons that we had that. And it was also one of the reasons that we went with. When they fail more than one class, they're not NHIA ineligible, but we weren't comfortable with them playing athletics with no plan whatsoever to try to bring those grades up.
Yep.
So that was the medium that we tried to find, but they're very valid questions. But that was probably the biggest reason, because some people will ask that question: how does a student fail a class and you still let them play a sport? But that is one of the reasons for that.
And how frequently do you find that you have this situation in the failing room?
We still do have students who are academically ineligible based on the NHIA, so they've not successfully completed 4 classes. It's not a huge number, but it does happen. And one of the unfortunate things when that happens, as Mr. Frederick had said, when somebody has failed 2 classes, we can put them in a program, we can have them do 8th hour, we can have them practice, and there really is a carrot to that. Whereas when they failed 3 classes, it's out of our realm. It's the NHIA said they are not allowed to participate, and so it's more difficult.
The majority of the people, Tom, recover? I mean, when they see, when the kids finally realize, oh, I am in this situation, do they tend to want to,
I would say
does it
that,
seem like they want to recover and they say, oh boy, I better get on, or do a lot of them just say, the hell with it, I'm done, see you later?
I would say probably around 75 to 80% recover that.
It gives them a boost.
Gives them a boost,
Yeah.
and, this fall we had 2 athletes that were ineligible to start, and then 3 weeks in, they were squared away, they had their grades up, they understood, and they were back out on the field, which was nice to see. Where I know, in one instance, with one student, that if he hadn't had that, his entire fall would have just been miserable. He's an active kid, would have been a tough road for him.
Henry?
A question that sort of dovetails into enrollment numbers, and speaking of reduced number of students able to play because of academic performance. But the question is, are there any sports currently in jeopardy because of low numbers of kids wanting to participate or able to participate?
I think every year kind of is different in terms of the sport. Right now, I'd say we're pretty healthy in almost everything. The 2 sports that we kind of have the low numbers on right now are JV girls basketball and JV boys basketball. It's kind of in that middle area where you're close to having enough, or you got to bring up a kid or 2, and it depends on how many kids come out. We had a lot of boys come out that were upper level boys this year, and some of it trickled down to JV. So I think it was probably our biggest number of JVs in the past couple of years. I think we had 7 or 8 kids there. But those are the 2 that stand out a little bit.
Are there strategies in place to ensure the continuity
Well,
of those sports?
one of the things that I think April kind of alluded to is that, we've got a lot of students trying to get involved with the younger kids to keep that number healthy. And I think there was a fair amount of younger kids playing in the elementary school for basketball. It's kind of a gap right now in the 6th grade for basketball for girls. And that's due to a number of different factors. There's a big interest in indoor soccer, and that's kind of a year-round sport for some. And that takes away from numbers and others. Just the interest in some of the outdoor sports. I mean, you can go play an indoor soccer game right now, you're gonna have a hard time playing the softball. So that's. But I think just with some of the involvement of the high school athletes with the lower levels, trying to get them involved, some of the coaches working with the lower levels, trying to get more kids involved, that helps.
And you find that's really one of the better strategies in order to keep the interest throughout?
I think that's one of them. I think certainly, it's kind of, sports are fickle. It's kind of cyclical. Right now, we're in a really good baseball number situation. A lot of kids who are interested in playing. We're in a really good soccer situation for girls and boys. A lot of kids are interested in playing. And it's the sports right now that I'm finding is the basketball is tough because it's such a long season. It's demanding, and there's only 5 positions out on the floor, and you can only play so many kids, and kids like to play. So, Paul.
I think the other thing that hasn't been mentioned here yet is that each and every fall, the winter, and the spring, we offer 2 sports,
Yeah.
both male and female. So in the fall, we've got soccer and golf. In the winter, we've got ski team and basketball, and we've got track and baseball, softball, and in the spring. So for a small school, we have a saturation point. There's a lot of participation because they have choices.
We, volleyball as well.
I'm sorry, I missed volleyball. Yeah.
So I just, we had about 150 games played this fall. I'm doing it off the top of my head. It's a lot of activities for the kids. And, when you have 75% participation, it's I think that's a good thing. Other schools are facing a lot of the same dilemmas with declining enrollment and eliminating JV teams. There's a number of schools with 7th graders on varsity up north. It's pretty tough for those schools right now. I'm talking to a lot of the athletic directors.
Sean?
I was going to say, not to, with Heather's question, I know that cross-country skiing was a sport that was in danger a couple of years ago, based on numbers, and ski jumping was as well. And Spirit this year was iffy for a while. So a lot of it has to do with trying to get those coaches to go out and really try to recruit some students who might not be doing other activities. I think Mrs. Guerin put it well. When you have 75% and you have these sports, there's only so many things they can do. And so sometimes that would mean they might do the cross-country skiing, but now they're not doing the drama. We do 2 plays a year as well. So we have a high participation of athletics, but when you add the co-curricular play in Harvard Model Congress and all those things, it really starts getting up to 85 or 90%. And so a lot of times there's just not, would love to have more kids do it. The truth is the kids are doing things. So it's very few that really aren't doing anything.
And the busing doesn't seem to be.
Busing is great. Brenda does an awesome job for us. We are very fortunate at this school with the busing. I talked to other schools, they're canceling games left and right. Hinsdale had to send coach buses to games in order to get some of their games off. But we're really fortunate. Brenda makes things work. We've got a good group of people doing that for us. So we're really fortunate.
Does anybody else have any questions? Great, thank you very much.
Thank
Sean.
you.
Appreciate it. Good job.
Thanks.
Okay, school updates.
High school was at a game today.
Okay,
Apologize, she's very busy.
that's good. Part of the percentage or something.
Looking back to that 75%.
Okay, I guess we'll move right on to Jody. You have the floor.
Okay, so our chess club students participated in the state tournament last month, and our 3rd grade team placed 2nd in their age group, and our 4th or 5th grade team placed 1st. So we want to just acknowledge Mr. Tappan and all the work he does with those students, because he's not just teaching how to move pieces, but he's teaching strategy, and those kids are doing a really great job. It's a year-long club that the kids are involved in. There's a waiting list, so it's really popular. We had our school talent show last month as well, and the student performances ranged from soccer skills to cup stacking to drumming, and the performers did a great job, and the whole school goes to see it, so it's really nice for the younger kids to see, hey, I might have a talent that I can share with others. Next week is the Scholastic Book Fair, and on Thursday night, the 12th, there will be family shopping, and that night is our art show. And the PTO will be having an Ice Cream Social. And then next Saturday, the 14th, is the 5th grade yard sale where they raise funds for the 6th grade interest classroom. Thank you. Trip.
Nice. Great, well, that's good. That's great on the chess club.
I know.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, Sean.
Okay, yeah, on the chess club, it's impressive, because I play a little bit of chess, and I don't even want to play the 3rd graders anymore. I've played a couple of the elementary students. They're really good. Congratulations to all our seniors. They all successfully completed senior project night. Again, another well-attended night by the community. Lots of community members came out and served as mentors and judges. So as is typical, that went well. Again, we talked about Destination Imagination the last meeting, but just a reminder that we've got teams going to Globals coming up in a couple of weeks. We've had students return from Spain and France. All of that went well. We are now in our, like the elementary school, we're called our month of testing. So in addition to SBAC testing, our AP exams started this week, so our students started taking them today. And and then we'll take them again tomorrow, and then we'll take them again on Friday, and then there's another one next week. So there's just a lot of testing that really takes up a lot of our May. The results are good, and it's nice to see, but it makes things quite busy and sometimes stressful on the students. Next week is spring elective week, again, thank you for, particularly to Mr. Garland, who has generously donated some funds to the Gettysburg trip. We have every student for the second year in a row in the 8th grade going to Gettysburg this year. So it is an elective, but they are all going this year for the second year in a row. So we're really looking forward to that. We had more than 50 students sign up for Green Up Day from the school, and even more than that went, but 50 students from the middle high school signed up through the school, and hopefully you saw in a number of areas that Sunapee Middle High School, or Sunapee High School, received a silver medal from U.S. News and World Report, was ranked second in the state. As I looked in the last 10 years, it's the 5th or 6th time that we were recognized as either a silver medal or a bronze medal school. So I'm pretty pleased with that.
Very nice.
Great.
That's awesome. Great.
All right.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions for? Thank you. Okay, superintendent's update.
So I want to get back to the question that came up, Brian, you asked last month regarding a bus out to Goshen. So I had Brenda do a little work for us. Rough cost, about $20,000. It's basically an additional run. So it's $20,000 additional run. Our other issues right now, we're down a driver.
Yep.
We've been advertising for a driver for at least 4, maybe 5 months. We're starting to try to breed our own, if you will, and getting people in our system and training them and putting them through the rigors of becoming a bus driver. So it is doable, but it does come with a cost. And right now, we would be stretched to try to add that on with our current arrangement and even our current fleet. So just pass the information on.
So the 20,000 is purely
That's
wear
a-
and tear on a bus and
It's
man
a
hours?
driver, that's a driver with gasoline, paying for the run, in and out.
No increase in the number of buses?
No, that's trying to do with what we have, but knowing we'd have to have a driver do that. Depending on how some of our special education numbers and returns come back, that could be off the table completely. Or we have to pull our school van in and put additional miles onto that school van. Make it a third run, instead of, right now it's doing 2 runs, it'd be a third run. So there's a tipping point there somewhere. Because that's basically a student and a half, but that's just towards a bus. That's not educational cost, so you've lost that educational cost. So it's,
Yeah, I don't know what the right number is.
yeah, and I'm not sure that gets us more or less.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The run is the run regardless of its full rank.
Right, it's divided.
It's the run. So,
Just wanted to give you
that's
that.
good that's good to know.
Also, Daryl Sensabaugh, one of our bus drivers, will be receiving the Life Saving Award. Daryl was one of the first people on site with Ron Burdette here at the high school, and helped perform CPR and worked on Ron. And so he'll be receiving that from the Fire and EMS Foundation. So I want to recognize his service, obviously, and congratulate him and thank him for his service, for what he's done on helping out Ron and obviously our community. Two last things. One, commend a congratulations to the high school as well. Great recognition, coming in second in the state. Student-teacher ratio, AP test scores